Hey, Flickin' Fanatics, it's Jesse Swift, and we are here to talk spoilers about Wakanda Forever. We are all fresh out of the theater, ready to get into this movie, the pros, the cons, the nitty-gritty, what worked, what didn't, all the emotional core moments, talk about the villain and all that stuff, and I'm going to have a whole conversation by myself if we don't hit that intro. Here we go. All right, and we're off. With me, I got Sean Wingblade and Chris Anthony Lopez here to talk about full spoilers with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That is your last warning outside of the title of the video and also the spoiler review right under me on this side, nailing it, and then over on Sean's side.
All you had to do is point down.
Listen, so the spoiler warning is up over here.
You see the spoiler warnings right up where they normally are,
Listen,
up there.
There is no structure here. We're just going to talk shop or dunk on this movie, as Chris Anthony Lopez would say.
As soon as we stop our non-spoiler review, which you can check, it was up on the channel last night. Feel free to go check over there. Make sure you like that video, comment on that one as well. But as soon as we stop the recording, Chris goes, "All right, let's do the spoiler so I can dunk on it."
Oh, okay, no, and that makes it seem like I didn't like.
Chris, I'm glad you volunteered to start about all your spoiler thoughts about the film. Go ahead.
Oh my god. Okay. So, I mean, I talked about it in the non-spoiler part, and I'm going to be the first one to say it here. Namor was the best part of this movie.
100%.
And to me, it wasn't close. Like, yeah. I was taken aback by Tenoch Huerta and just what he was doing with this character. Mm-hmm. And I think Jesse or Sean, I forget which one of you said it, but one of y'all said he was fierce.
Yeah,
absolutely. When he was on screen, and he towed the line of, "I am a justified ruler of a city, of a nation, of a whatever."
Protecting his country,
right? And the parallels,
like Killmonger had it out for everybody. It was different.
And Killmonger, like, he was just shitty that, and pardon my French, that his father was killed by his uncle, mm-hmm. and he felt like Wakanda could do more. All Namor was trying to do was not try to get colonized like his mother's homeland was, and how he saw it in front of his own eyes, his own people that looked just like him, being enslaved, and he's like, "I don't want this to happen to my people. So hey, Wakanda, help me out, yeah." And it, like, the parallels that Shuri and Namor had, their little conversation, I love that bit of them just trading ideologies and how they're essentially the same. They were the same character, the same arc in the whole movie. Out
that there's a few people that Shuri shares at least some form of either viewpoint or ideology to a degree, or at least finds some relatable nature, which leads us to some surprises. There was multiple surprises that were in this movie that weren't even the slightest bit hinted at in the trailers, which I don't know. Is that a good transition to talk about a couple of those things right now?
You talk about Killmonger, yeah.
Hey, that was one of them. That's one of them. We talked about the other one in between. But yeah, so when...
okay, hold on. Before we get... So, yes, Killmonger shows up. How does he show up? Ooh, I hope you saw the movie. If you're watching this far, you know how he shows up.
Spoilies.
When as she's in the ancestral realm and she's walking around the throne, what were you thinking in that moment? Because I was like, don't do some shitty CGI with Chadwick. Just don't do some shit. Like, just don't do it. And then it shocked me even more that it was. I didn't even think that Killmonger would be sitting there. Just didn't even cross my mind.
Well, in my head, I had this like scenario that she was going to go to like the ancestral plane and see the tree, like T'Challa did.
Yeah.
And she was going to look up and see a new Panther and say, "I miss you, brother," or some shit like that. And I was going to sob like a baby. That was going to be a mess. Which
my cats will come up and they'll just look at me, and I'll walk up to them and they'll just down their head, and I'll always give them a headbutt. And I thought, like, I was literally writing the movie in my head. I was like, watch, she's gonna give some Panther a headbutt, like she's gonna like at the end. Exactly what you're saying.
This movie already had me crying, dude. The way that we'll talk. This movie has a lot to do with the loss of Chadwick Boseman, and I want to touch. That was the first thing that we get exposed to. It's the Marvel logo. It's all purple. It's all just Chadwick T'Challa scenes, and there's no sound. Except all the crying in my theater was the only percussion instruments that I got. And then there's a lot of silence at the end of the movie, and same thing. I was like, I just hear sobbing in the corner and crying and sniffling. And I was like, I'm like holding it together while the hot tears like stream down my face. But I mean, we don't have to go step by step through the movie, but I do think a big thing to tackle, because it's what everyone was wondering about going into the movie, is how they handle the passing of T'Challa out the gate. You want to talk about that for a second?
Here, so we'll bookmark Killmonger, because I mean I can talk about Killmonger for the next half hour. I love that character so much. But in regards to the beginning of the film, right?
Yeah.
Again, they take us right into the thick of it, of like the minutes leading up to T'Challa's passing in the movie, and how Shuri was trying to save her brother, and we don't hear him like flatline, but we just hear like there's no heartbeat.
Yeah.
From the AI, the Jarvis, the Wakandan Jarvis.
Right.
And it was Wakarvis, and this very somber.
I could never tell what they were calling him.
I couldn't either. I need subtitles.
Yeah.
This movie gave us a ton of subtitles for sure. But
played by Trevor Noah, by the way.
Oh, cool.
Holy shit. I knew that, and I didn't even register that until right now.
Yeah,
because he said
was never
in an interview.
He was never announced for the first movie, but he was in the credits afterwards, and he came back for this. He had a much bigger part. Like the AI was all over the place.
Well, damn, I knew that. I forgot about it. Off topic, but I love the Marvel take on this, with the Marvel Studios logo flip with Chadwick and T'Challa, and it was just like, again, the greatest hits of the character in the few appearances that we got him. And I said in the non-spoiler, and I'll say it again here, I miss Chadwick Boseman so much, just like, again, just as an actor, as a fan of his and of his work. And I'm going to miss him dearly in this universe, because you already know everything changed the day that we all found out he passed away, or when Marvel found out that Chadwick was sick. But it was jarring to see like the greatest hits of this character. It's like, damn, that's it. That's all we're gonna get from T'Challa.
Yeah.
Or at least
T'Challa Senior.
Boseman's, T'Challa Senior. But I was so
Right.
I loved it. And the moment of silence in my theater, again, the same way, there was some sniffles scattered throughout the theater, and I was just like, holy shit, like they really did it. They really did it. And we've been seeing the promotion materials for months going into this, and I'm like, well, they did it better than I could have imagined it. It wasn't. I can pull Coles in some parts of this movie. I think the opening was flawless.
And I was quick pinned in, because it's what Chris has talked about. I think they also did a really good job of reflecting some real life things with Chadwick, with the illness and stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's conversations of like, some people knew and some people didn't, and he expected that his time was coming. And I think Shuri wasn't really let in on it, but Nakia knew. It seemed like Ramonda might have known, and that seemed to be true in real life. And Chadwick was very private about what he was going through.
Shuri says that. She goes, he kept it inside. He kept it to himself for too long. If he would have told me sooner, I could.
By the time I could help him, I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Because she was working on a cure, essentially, or a new heart-shaped herb, but it was only at like 20%, and it just wasn't enough. Wasn't there in time even by the time she goes to walk in. This movie got me in 2 points. It got me to tears in 2 points, and it was the opening at that moment too. As soon as she grabs the herb and goes to turn, and Ramonda's there, I was like, oh, it's too late. That's why she's walking out. And then at the end, just seeing the shock to talk about T'Challa Jr. In the seeing the shock on Shuri's face, and then just kind of like knowing what that character, what this new, as far as I know, a brand new character, I don't know, would mean to maybe future whatever, or like his legacy can kind of live on through this avatar in a way, this child of his, and this fictional child. It got me too, and then the way she was she was looking at him with wonder, like, oh, that's my brother, type of thing, or that's a piece of my brother, and that got me again. And those were the two moments. It was the beginning and the very end.
I had a quick choke cry when she's on like the battleship, then they're getting ready to go, and she just Bombay. I was like, oh, don't you do that to me, movie. I'll start screaming in the theater and embarrassing myself.
Ready to go fight Thanos.
The end credits scene, which is the only one we got. We didn't get any typical fun Marvel tag.
Well, that one and the Doctor Doom post-credit scene.
Yeah, that
as rumored.
Right. I mean, by rumor, I mean like literally every video just like this on YouTube has been talking about that a potential Doctor Doom end credit scene.
I don't know where that started. It was just fan casting. People just wanted.
I think I started it like last year, and people just ran it.
It was Colin along with Kang and Doom and Mephisto.
Spot on speculation. The flicking reel.
Right here. You found it. But my quick thing on the end credit scene, because again, like it was beautiful. Again, just like the beginning, they did it. They played it off very well. Mm-hmm. I had an inkling. Like, and I hate being that guy, being like, "Oh, I thought of it," but during the movie, I'm like, "Was she pregnant? Like, is that why she left?" And I was like, it'd be cool if they had a kid and we just didn't know about it. And then I was like, snap!
You and my wife Lauren are on the same page, because before it started, she's like, "What if Nakia has this kid?" And she was
gone for 6 years.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And she just went away after Thanos showed up. And I'm like, this seems very uncharacteristic for just
when she refers to him as my T'Challa, I'm like, oh, you guys made up in a big way, didn't you?
Mm-hmm. She went away immediately after Killmonger was killed. She wasn't even around for Thanos.
Well,
is that how you interpreted that?
In the movie, they said she left after Thanos attacked. And she talks about losing T'Challa then.
That's how I interpreted it.
And that's when she left.
Because at the end of the first Black Panther, she was there for 3 months. Like, because T'Challa kisses her, and he's like, "Oh, we can still find ways to help other people without you having to leave," and that's where the embassies show up. And boom, boom, boom. Speaking of embassies, that was a great way to start the time jump thing, going to the UN and Ramonda being like, "Hey, France, you guys are assholes trying to break into the Mali embassy." So here they are. They speak French. LOL, y'all suck. No diss to the French, but that one French ambassador was a real pain in the ass.
As soon as she's just like, "We've heard rumors that they could be used for weapons of mass destruction." And Ramonda's like, "Oh, hold on, let me show you someone. Sorry, you left your cousin in my house, and he was trying to steal my shit. Let me bring it."
And here's a photo proof sent to all of your mobile devices.
Yeah, 100%.
Because Wakandans don't play around. That they really did a good job of. And I know we were joking a little bit how I want to dunk on this movie, but the story part to begin the flick with. Essentially, like end credit scene of the first film is T'Challa being like, "I want to open up Wakanda to the world. I want the rest of the world to be like, to just be open with us and us help y'all out. We help you guys, help us out, whatever.
Wise men build bridges and like the fools build walls or something like that.
Right, but I like the idea, and I love how Angela Bassett acted it during the scene. Essentially, the idea died with T'Challa. Yeah. And I thought that was very powerful, and it made sense with how, you lose your king, and in Ramonda's case, you lose your son, and you want to close off. Why would you, you're vulnerable. Wakanda, for a very long amount of time, was vulnerable. They were Sans king, and even once the time jump happened, they were still vulnerable, with Ramonda leading them. And you want to close it off, but T'Challa already said to the world, "Hey, let's open this thing up." And now the world's asking for that promise that King made. The Ramonda, again, the King's dead. We're mourning that. Give us a second. Stop trying to break into our embassies, and then we'll see what happens. But if we keep seeing stuff like this, then we're not going to do it. But over the course of the film, I feel like we get that happens, and we close the door on that, and that's a fun idea to explore. Hopefully, in other future potential Black Panther media that we get, but I love how they addressed it. It was acknowledged, and immediately they closed the door on it. But it made sense within the story.
He is my Black Panther.
I want to branch off what you're saying, because we talk about, the other countries trying to come in there and steal the resources. I really appreciate that they didn't go, the pollution route. I hate the surface world for polluting the waters. We've seen that 1,000 times. It's like, no, we have our own, like, we're chilling. We're good here, but we also have vibranium, and
wasn't that a hell of a twist too?
Yeah.
That rocked me.
Well,
it was one of my theories. I thought it made sense.
Well, luckily you didn't watch all the trailers, because it's in the trailer.
Oh, see,
I didn't know that. The trailer?
Yeah, there's a trailer where so Shuri looking at Namor, and she says he's covered in it.
Oh,
and New Rockstar was like, vibranium?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't outright say it, but they pretty much said it. So yeah, it was cool that they went that way. Sorry,
all the low key nations got their vibranium. Again, and you gotta make these folks.
Latveria is gonna have vibranium. Doctor Doom's suit is gonna be vibranium
or adamantium.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because
we are that kind of worm.
People need to stop with the Doctor Doom shit. We ain't gonna see him for a while. Just
speaking of
calm the fuck down.
Mutants. That was
they said the M word.
Oh yes,
they said it.
Finally.
How inappropriate would it have been if he's like, I was a mutant, and we were.
Dude, again, just to hammer that point home. Because so in Miss Marvel, we hear her friend say, what was the kid's name?
Bruno.
We that's why we don't talk about it. We hear him say, you have a mutation, but not like calls her a mutant, right? And then all over She-Hulk, it's like, hey, there's all these superhero people. We need to start a whole new law division, right? So we're kind of assuming, like, what else would they be but mutants, like sprouting powers? They're just not putting a label on them yet. But he straight up says, I'm a mutant. Like, he says the word. And he identifies himself as a mutant, essentially. And the oldest one, he was born in 1560.
Yeah, dude is like 500 years old.
Yeah. So he is definitely the oldest person. I mean, there's the Eternals, and I'm sure there's other, immortal beings in the MCU. But
him and his three wings.
Yeah. I wanted a little more. A negative for me is I wanted more from the surrounding Talocon people. Because we knew nothing about Namora. We knew nothing about Atuma. They were not the...
I was told it's not Atuma.
Well done. But they just didn't get their time in the sun. Time in the artificial sun that he created for his world.
The vibranium sun.
The vibranium sun. But we got nothing from them. They essentially were just heavies, right? They were just his right hand heavy.
That's rude. Not all of them were chunky.
You can't talk like that.
When you start recording at the earliest of midnight 14, and you expect this guy to have any kind of comparably bright conversation.
So just speculation for the future, because there was that conversation at the end, right? There was Namora saying, I thought, why would you surrender to them? Why would you yield? I thought I was ready to fight with you. And he's like, no, it was reverse psychology. Like, now we have them doing our dirty work. Basically,
right.
They're gonna defend us, and when they can't, they'll come to us for help, and then we'll hold all the power. So it's really smart. And
I love that Namor didn't have an arc, really.
He was exactly what he set out.
He got his ass kicked and then spun it.
Yeah, exactly. And which, kind of refers or jumps back to the comics a bit, because he was in the Illuminati, right? He's said to be one of the smartest people on the planet because, he's been around for a long time. He has times to think about shit. But so what it could be was, and this was me talking to a buddy of ours, and basically you can kind of compare this all around to Captain America Civil War, right? We introduced Black Panther, and then and he shines. He was great in that movie, and he was a bit of an antagonist only because he was after one of our hero's best friend, right?
Sure.
And then he gets his own movie and he gets his own arc, and there's this there's an uprising from an unlikely person who wants to take his throne. We could basically do the same thing with Namor, right? So we introduce Namor. He's an antagonist, not necessarily a villain, just an antagonist in the sense of he had his own motivations and he wanted to save his people. That's pretty noble, right? He essentially did that too. But not everyone agreed with his ways. Namora and possibly Atuma would have said, like, no, we wanted to go down with a fight. We're going out on our shield. We don't want to play these games and make alliances. No, screw that. We have our own way of doing things, and we want to unseat Namor as our king and take over. And that could be Namor's own solo movie in Phase 6, right after Fantastic Four. You hit it here first, folks.
Oh,
just clip this out, send it to the internet.
In the Mutant
figured
Saga?
it out. In the Mutant Saga. That's damn right. Exactly.
Okay.
I want more, the more sooner rather than later.
I feel like you guys aren't as excited as I was about the Namor movie that's coming.
Well, okay. So I know I've been gassing up Namor as and you're gonna hear me flip between Namor and Namor because Ramonda did call him Namor at one point.
They all kind of called him something different.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
the ones
they were flip flopping.
The ones, yeah. I think he says Namor, but typically,
and they gave beautiful context into why he's called Namor specifically.
It's was a child without
love.
Yeah,
Namor. Mm-hmm. So like he was just, oh my god, he was so good. He is my favorite, and he will be my personality for the next couple weeks. But in regards to
I know what Chris's Halloween costume is going to be next year.
I'm gonna. Oh yeah, I gotta get them thighs though.
Start doing some chest flies. Start doing some squats.
Dude, I'm gonna have a nose ring by the end of the year.
A nose bone, a turquoise nose bone.
And the whole Talocan stuff was really cool. It was this underwater city that was done differently than before. I haven't seen anything like this before. Were like entirely submerged underwater, and it was just like, and they had the great sequence later between Shuri has him pinned up like on the ground, and there's like the reflection between Wakanda and Talocan, how they're essentially the same thing, just one is like one's now open to the world and the other one's just there, but
still not known to the world, really.
Yeah. But I don't know the right terminology for what I'm trying to say. But they're reflections of each other, and I found that very endearing. And again, Namor, as Sean alluded to, like there's the whole bit where it's like, hey, yo, let them come in. They're gonna need us at some point, but we got this at the end of the day, because Namor, he has this whole like anti-heroic arc in Marvel Comics, been a villain and a hero, whatever. But he was the antagonist in this movie. He's not the villain. I'm not here to call Namor the villain. Right. Because I will defend his actions to the day I die. I was telling Sean before.
It's easier to defend him than Killmonger.
1000%. Actually, I also think. So to me, Killmonger had the Thanos effect. Good intent, but horrible execution.
Yeah.
Like they both had a good idea in mind, but they went about it in a horrific way.
That is one detriment that Marvel writers tend to do, is that they give their villains this great empathetic arc and ideas and follow through, and then halfway through the movie, Killmonger just shoots his girlfriend in cold blood, and you're like, oh yeah, I don't like this guy. You were on board with everything he was saying up until that point, though, I guarantee it. And that's just I feel like that's just a lazy way to, hey guys, remember, he's the bad guy. All right, why is he making so much sense?
They did it with the Flag Smashers too. Like it seemed like they made sense, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, no, you suck.
Yeah. Oh my god, don't even get me started on the Flag Smashers. That was their thing, wasn't it? But in regards to this flick, right? They didn't do that with Namor, and I'm very happy they didn't do that. Like he'll be around, and the Avengers, if there is a team, will call upon him, because Lord knows they're gonna need him for this fun stuff we got going on, and he's
everyone battling to the death.
he's he's the most at the serpent feather god, cool god.
Cool.
Yeah.
He's gonna be useful later, so Wakanda's gonna be like, hey, we know a guy, but they didn't go full on villain, and yes, he drowned Ramonda. Like, I totally get that.
That's a hard to come back from.
But as I was telling Sean before we started recording this, like, he said to her, do not send Wakandans into the damn water. Granted, she did it before he said that, but yo, if you're gone and
not general or king.
Yeah, like it was a declaration of war, and Shuri said that, which also made me feel really good about what was going on, because Shuri acknowledged, like, that's a declaration of war.
Yeah, when she was trying to save that girl.
Right, and they invited it. And I didn't expect Ramonda to die in this movie, and I was scared that now I'm scared that Namor is going to be antagonized by the Marvel fan base.
This movie's already antagonized for existing and being a Marvel movie.
I didn't expect anyone to be honest, because of Chadwick's passing and T'Challa's passing. I didn't expect anyone else.
There were two funerals in this movie.
Note, yeah, I didn't expect that. I didn't think that they would do that to the audience. And granted, her death didn't hit me as hard. But
I second that.
It and maybe it was just the way it played out. Kind of saw it
kill
coming.
Her.
Yeah, they could have just like put her in a coma or something. They could have just sidelined her a bit or something, and it could have got this. Yeah, something like that. Could have got the same response. But it is what it is.
And
I think they had to push Shuri to the point where we were concerned.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. I wanted to say, because it has to do with Ramonda, when she's talking to M'Baku, and he says, if we kill him, we risk eternal war. And she's like, is my mother not worth it? And I was like, wow, I have chills and I'm crying a little. And Letitia really acted her little ass off.
She wasn't perfect, but she stepped up. And there was definitely some moments in this where I was like, oh, that's a whole nother level. Like, she's hitting another level.
I'm glad you mentioned the turn that she took, right? And this goes back to the Killmonger of it all.
Yes, it does.
Right?
There you go. You're welcome. Here you go.
To go full circle. I didn't. I might catch shit for saying this. I love seeing Michael B. Jordan again. I kind of figured he'd be in this movie at some point. I didn't expect that per se, but I found it very hard to root for Shuri after that, and I didn't like how she was so, like, Nakia was like, oh, yo, who'd you see in the astral plane? And Shuri's like, no. And that happened twice.
Yep.
And there's no resolution.
Never resolved.
No resolution.
Yep. They never talked about it again.
Like, yo, should I be concerned about this girl now?
The closest thing to resolution is that when she's about to take out Namor and she sees her mother saying, show him who you are.
She's part Killmonger now, and no one's gonna acknowledge it.
She all of a sudden sees her mother. How was she? She was
like when Michael Myers possessed that little girl in whatever Halloween that was.
I was just so taken aback by Shuri, and shout out to Winston Duke, who I think is one of the unsung heroes of this movie in regards to stepping up, because he had some great moments with Shuri in regards to them, like, the little conversations that they had.
Ramonda's funeral and when he's like, I promised your brother that I would be here to counsel you. That whole exchange, I was like, oh, he's doing fantastic.
He was crushing it.
He was doing amazing.
And when she was like, oh, like, let me talk to him alone, and she's like, I'm gonna go kill Namor, and he's like, trust me, as the guy that was like, let's kill him earlier in the movie, that's not a good idea now.
No. A lot of our people are gonna die if you do that. That'll be eternal war.
You think just because we're in the mountains we don't have books?
I found it very hard to root for Shuri, and I was telling Sean before we started, I was rooting for Namor in the third act. I really wanted Namor to have the upper hand, solely because I'm like, should I be rooting for her? Like, and this again, she was great in this film. This is just me talking about the character, not Letitia Wright as a person. But Shuri, I just thought the turn of character was very abrupt, and that and when Killmonger was like, "Oh, hey, little cuz, like you're more like me than you think." Like, did I miss something in the first movie between the two of them, or is it just like, oh, he's the Panther of vengeance?
Yeah, basically she wanted vengeance at the moment.
Killmonger is Luke's Vader in a cave, showing what could happen if they go down that path. And I think, like we talked about, this film's about processing grief. And
Chris has never seen Star Wars. He doesn't know what that is.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Star Trek guy.
There's so much spiritual nature in Wakanda with Ramonda, with the history of the Panthers and everything. And Shuri has refused it and leaned into science. And science doesn't help her grieve. All these things keep happening,
right,
and she just keeps pushing it down instead of embracing any kind of spirituality or the ancestral plane or anything. And I think Killmonger did the same thing. Instead of processing his grief for his father, he just let rage consume him his entire life. And I think that was kind of the point of having Killmonger be so involved in that point of the film, is if you don't lay down and cry your heart out and let yourself feel, you're gonna be him, or you're gonna be Namor, because Namor also is grieving his mother and her land and everything that happened there, and he let it consume him for centuries. And so she got to see this twice, and she's like, I could be Killmonger, I could be Namor, but I need to be who my mother raised me to be. And I thought that was really powerful. But if it didn't work for you, I get that. That's just how I interpreted it.
She was like that the entire third act, right? Until legitimately she had a vibranium blade up against Namor's neck, and then Ramonda's like, show him who you are. And I'm like, okay, I get the sentiment.
I also thought she killed him, and I was
so
pissed.
many people died. So many Wakandans died because of her actions, and I know, like, she's like, oh, like, be, and they played the Killmonger thing backwards. Like, are you gonna be like your brother and be noble, or gonna be like me and get results, or whatever the hell he said? And it was, she went to kill him. She's like, oh, Wakanda forever, bang, thing in the back. I'm like, this, am I supposed to think this is okay? What she's doing?
She's torturing him.
Can I make a comparison? That was T'Challa until he saw Steve and Tony going at it, and she almost said his line. She said, rage has consumed you, or whatever. I will not let it consume me or my people, or whatever, which is his line at the end of Civil War.
That is
when
true.
He has Zemo.
Yeah,
his rage is already consuming them.
He stops Zemo's bullet. He puts his hand there to stop Zemo from killing himself.
So I'm just saying, it's a reflection of her own brother.
You're also talking to the guy who's not a big fan of Civil War. So let's but like, and again, like I get the sentiment. It just didn't work for me in the third act.
That's my favorite Black Panther movie.
I found it, and I found it very hard to root for her. And I don't like how. And again, like, why not tell Nakia you saw Killmonger? We could have had that sooner. Yeah, like we could have had that exchange sooner, and it would have been so powerful coming from Nakia.
Because if she said she saw Killmonger, Nakia would put her in a headline and go, shh.
Can we say how much Nakia is a badass, though?
Absolutely.
She's so cool. Lupita Nyong'o's so good in this movie, too.
Okay, so the whole scene where she finally synthesizes the new herb, and I thought they were going to do a bait and switch where they were actually going to make Nakia the new Black Panther, because they were together, they're holding hands, they're watching it get created on the little 3D printer, and I was like, oh. And then she even to the moment where she lays down and pours it down her throat, there was still half a bowl left.
We could have had two.
Drink it up, girl. Well, throw it down. Let's go.
They have a garden now.
That was the thought that crossed my brain. I thought we were gonna have two Black Panthers.
How early is too early to give little T'Challa the herb?
Very.
Let him grow up. He has to hit puberty first.
Let our man grow first.
You can't let little kids drink coffee or take steroids. Like,
I heard heart-shaped herbs can affect your hormonal level.
They took him to Haiti for the sole purpose of getting away from all that. So
Exactly.
It'd be weird.
He could be a young Avenger. Just give him 12 years or something.
Oh, don't say that, Sean. You're gonna start fueling all the Young Avenger stuff. Even more so.
If you want your problem solved, you can just make that little concoction and give it to M'Baku and be like, "Go on."
Yo, I would love to see M'Baku hopped up on the heart-shaped herb with a big old like gorilla like outfit, like just mowing over people. I would freaking.
Namor punked him in this movie too.
Dude, Namor broke his chest.
I thought he was dead for half a second.
I thought he was dead. He landed and he's like, "Oh no, he just broke me." You know, I'm good.
It was so weird. Like I was. Oh my god, the whole M'Baku stuff. Because I only seen the first trailer going into this, and I had seen like a featurette or something, and I saw a video that was like, "Oh, released scene." It was M'Baku versus Namor, and I'm like, "Oh my god, they fight in this movie." So when that part was coming, and I felt it coming. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be this whole big ass fight." Nope, got punched right in the chest, and I was like, "Holy shit!" Like this. Like Namor is none to play with.
No.
And I gotta stop talking about Namor before things are getting out of hand.
When
Namor, Wakanda forever.
People,
I love him.
People have been talking, and I don't know if this was an official thing from Ryan Coogler or even Kevin Feige or someone else, but basically they kind of were talking about the power level of Namor. That
When he's near water.
When he's near water and he's hydrated, he is strong as the Hulk, basically. And he can fly, and he's fast, so he is hyped up. But
he's a flying Hulk because he grabbed that helicopter and was
but they showed that he can be taken down. You start dehydrating him a bit, you get him dried out, and so he has to at least be moist in that sense.
By the way, why was Lake Bell in this movie? I thought she was gonna have a role.
Right? Oh yeah, she just came and went. Like, bye. That was interesting. For being, she's not a huge name actress, but she's around. People know who she is.
Was she the lady on the boat?
Yeah. She was the agent at the beginning.
I thought they survived the helicopter hitting the water, but I guess not.
I should see somebody try that.
She's a notable enough actress to be like, that's weird. I wonder why
this is the second time she was in the MCU because she was Natasha Romanoff in What If.
That's true. Yeah, she did.
Oh, snap. Yeah. Show you right.
I thought it was fun seeing Richard Schiff as the U.S. liaison to, I guess, the president or whatever, and the military just being all kinds of the real villain, threatening, to steal resources and colonize Talokan, which was the real kind of impotence behind everything.
We should really quick. We talked about it before we recorded, but Valentina was a presence in the movie.
I wanted to work our way out. I was going to bring that up next. Negatives for me.
Okay.
Not in the sense that they were bad. It's just that why, kind of more like questions. One, let's work our way out, starting with super suits. We got the Midnight Angels, right? Is that what they call?
Yeah.
And then we got Riri's redone
Power
suit,
Ranger or Iron Man suit.
She was the Red Ranger.
She was, but done in about a day or something. And then so let's go from super suits to the Americans and kind of work our way that direction. So, what did you think of the suits? Because I fucking hated them. I didn't hate the concept of them, but I hated the look of at least the helmet. I was like, what's happening?
I loved just staring at the Midnight Angels. I love the suit, but whenever, I don't know why they felt this brings me to some of the worst attributes of some superhero movies is every time she had to talk, Okoye had to talk, they're like face mask up, face mask down, face mask. I was like, you can just talk through it. We can still hear you. You don't have to. And it reminds me if they've done that with some other movies, and they've done it in Marvel movies too, where they just have to show the actor's face so they keep. Sure. So we've seen her through 90% of this movie. If you just want to talk through your mask, it's fine, or show it from the inside. That's cool. Riri's was fine. I didn't hate it, but it was okay.
The Midnight Angels, I didn't like the suits either.
Okay.
Again, I like the concept.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the execution of it either. It's the suit, how it was drawn.
Yeah.
And that was the best that we got. And then Ironheart. Okay. Or Riri, because she's not Ironheart yet. Riri. So I love Riri in this movie. I think I said in the non-spoiler, she's also a scene stealer. She's so funny. I cannot wait for her to lead her own series.
She was at first. But that might be going to where you're going with your negative, where they forgot about her.
This movie forgot about her very fast. And she was the reason that Namor was so infatuated with Wakanda in the first place.
Right.
Go get the scientist. I'll kill her, but we'll be good. Sweet. And then we forgot about her. And
she's the MacGuffin. And
I was about to say the same thing.
Yeah.
And this movie, it didn't hit me until there was that shot where they were on the ship and they were all being backed into that one corner, and Riri is just there.
Right.
And I'm like,
I was thinking
holy hell.
Shoot something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, Riri, you have this, I'm assuming, vibranium Iron Man suit.
Right.
And I get it, she's 19 and she's a college student, but she was fighting Namor to start the fight.
And both of the Midnight Angels, right? They were both there as well. All three of them were there. Y'all are in super suits.
Vibranium, and I get it that they're also
people.
Fighting with vibranium, so it kind of counterbalances.
Yeah.
But still, this movie forgot about Riri for a minute, and it bummed me out because the character was so good and Dominique Thorne was great. But Namor stopped giving a shit about her, and so why should we as an audience, if we already didn't have the attachment to Riri, why should we care if Namor forgot?
Everything in the dorm room was spot on, just perfect. Everything in the auto shop was just perfect.
Did everybody laugh when Okoye said "small girl"?
Yes.
Yeah, it was cute.
Okoye was hitting all the comedy beats. She was doing fantastic. But that's actually one of my negatives too, was about Okoye, in the sense of, I feel like that's where you could chop out an extra 10-minute bit of this movie is, what was the purpose of stripping her of her rank? It literally did nothing, because she still showed up to the fight at the end. She still became the Midnight Angel.
It was Ramonda, and by the time she came back to the fight, Shuri was queen.
Right, I understand. But this was a 2-hour, 45-minute movie, and this scene meant nothing in the end, because she just still joined the fight at the end.
But technically, she's not Dora Milaje anymore. That's why she decided to take up being a Midnight Angel.
Except that the other girl is Michaela. She went to her and she's like, "Hey, I need you on my side," and she's still Dora Milaje, and apparently in a relationship with Ayo.
Take this logic and shove it all the way.
But I'm just saying, that was just a negative. This whole scene, which was very emotional, and this was the scene from the trailer, sort of I am the queen of the most power, and she's like, I have lost everything. Great, fantastic acting. The scene didn't need to be there, other than to show off
Angela Bassett
and her fierceness. But it was what? You're still, I don't know.
It took
when you're trimming pieces, I could have, I don't know.
It took her off the playing field so that she couldn't be there to protect Ramonda when Namor attacked.
Okay, sure.
I'm just saying it's part of it. Maybe.
To put her down on I don't know. Okay.
No offense to Okoye, but it's Namor. But there were just some story problems I had in the second half of the movie. It's not a perfect movie. No, but it's not a bad, and I don't want to make it sound like it's a bad movie either, because it's not. I still very much enjoyed a good amount of this movie. It was just, the third act really bothered me, forgetting Riri, Shuri, and to me, I couldn't root for her for a while. Really, it was the end credit scenes where I'm like, damn, Letitia's really crushing this, ain't she? But where I had to be reminded that she was crushing it, and the whole just nah. And I feel like we only got Martin Freeman in this.
I was about to say,
Thunderbolts.
Let's jump to Everett Ross shacking up with Valentina. Apparently, they are ex-husband and wife.
Yep.
And so I thought that was
she's the director of whatever there is to be a director of. Because
they said the agency. That's all they said when they referred to him. He literally showed up to the crime scene and goes, "Hey, I'm from the agency." What agency? They did mention they did mention Langley, so I assume the CIA. But they said, "Oh yeah, it was a joint task force." But he never said, "Hey, I'm a part of this agency now."
And I'm guessing it's not Sword at this point.
Right. I was going to say, was he ever part of S.H.I.E.L.D.? No, S.H.I.E.L.D. was gone by the time he came around. So what? Was he just like part of the defense?
I think he was
the
CIA.
U.S. defense team. Was he CIA? Okay. I couldn't remember. I haven't watched the first movie in a while.
Or Civil War.
I feel like when it was the scenes of Val and Everett Ross, at least in the beginning, it was like, oh, we're progressing the plot because the Americans are blaming the Wakandans and everything. But then there was that scene where they were at his crib, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, is this solely just to set up that, Val's not great, even though we want her to be great person, but she's not.
She all bugs you from the beginning. I knew everything that was happening.
Right, and B, hey, Thunderbolts, baby. Mm-hmm. Like, talk about we didn't get a bunch of Marvel-y stuff.
It felt the least Ryan Coogler element of the movie. It felt the most like Feige or MCU. It's like, we need, because this is the only movie that's going to involve like Ross or like that we can't put Valentina in Quantumania. It's not going to work.
Right.
Black Panther is a world-based, more grounded film, and we need to get this seed planted, and so they put it in Coogler's movie, is what it felt like.
It was like the one bit of blatant Marvel-y stuff.
Yeah.
Set up stuff. Mm-hmm. Which I wasn't mad at, and the scene's not bad. It was just like, it felt weird. Yeah, and I was like, wait a minute, what? Especially from the end credit scenes, we got zero Marvel-y stuff.
Right.
Zero. Like, and the end credit scene, gorgeous, stunning, loved it for all that it was. Mm-hmm. But the one bit of Marvel-y thing that we got that was blatant, like what Jesse said, didn't feel like it belonged there with the rest of the movie, even though it made sense story-wise. It just felt off. It felt weird, and I noticed that too. I'm like, oh, so we're arresting Ross just to break him out in the end, which is like, okay, cool, but now isn't that also going to cause a problem with the U.S. government in Wakanda? Like,
right.
What? Okay, whatever. I'm not going to think about it too hard.
Well, she's like straight up. She goes, yeah, I got something to do. So I thought she was going to break out her favorite colonizer. No, she sent Okoye to do that. No, I didn't even think about that until this moment. That's a great point. Dude, you just had a Wakandan break a U.S. prisoner out of like
out of U.S. custody.
Yeah, so that's going to cause an issue. But I think they're done carrying.
Right, like it's not the. Again, it's the Marvel-y stuff, and to keep Ross, because I like Martin Freeman in this role. I like the character. I like keeping him around as like the resident white guy and Black Panther stuff. But like it just really, and again we got that Midnight Angel suit, and I was like, oh, like can Okoye just be Dora Milaje again? Because those suits are rad as fuck. Like, can we just like do those?
Well, let's start wrapping it up, and let's end on a positive note, maybe a little bit of speculation. Ew. I really thought, I really dug. Like I thought that I liked how they ended the movie at the waterfall with a challenge of sorts, and we see, which I thought was interesting. The new shaman to taking over from Forrest Whitaker's position says Princess Shuri. Didn't introduce her as queen, even though she should be rightful queen, right?
And then M'Baku said he was going to challenge for the throne without Shuri.
I'm trying to get the introduces, and then M'Baku comes out. Introduce her as Princess Shuri, the Black Panther, right? Yes. And then M'Baku pops off, and I'm like, oh, and maybe he's. And I'm like, oh, maybe he's like her, bodyguard or something. And he's like, no, I want to challenge for the throne. I was like, oh. Who's he going to challenge though? Because Shuri dipped out, went to Haiti. So I was curious on that. I was like, who is he gonna challenge? Did you guys notice I think it's Nakia's people, the green and kind of bluish with the they have the fin on their head. Her tribe.
No, that's the River Tribe, isn't it?
Is the River Tribe? Yeah, I think so. I can't remember exactly, but one of the main guy who was in the throne room earlier in the movie is Kamaru Usman, who was the UFC welterweight champion.
Oh,
and so he's a dude. He can fight. He only had 2 lines. They gave him 1 line in the throne room, and then they showed him again at that last part at the waterfall. So, I mean, they could try to, I don't know if he's a good actor or not. I thought that would be kind of interesting, though. That could be a great fight scene, if nothing else. We could have M'Baku try to step up and be he's I'll challenge. And then they have a knock him, drag out.
Maybe it's just going to be Daniel Kaluuya riding his rhinos.
He's all, I'm out of prison. Okoye, where are you at?
Where are you at, babe? I thought the movie was going to end with Shuri popping out of that thing and then M'Baku being sorry, dog, got a challenge for the throne. Did your brother got to do to you too? And I thought that's how the movie would end.
And he just breaks her in half. She still looks like a twig.
I very much enjoyed the ending that we got, but I was totally expecting the movie to end with the cliche let's end during a fight and leave it ambiguous to who won.
Right.
Rocky-esque.
Straight up Rocky 3 style.
But I like the ending that we got a lot, so I prefer that. But again, I'm glad you raised that question of so there's who the hell's ruling Wakanda right now? No one?
The elders, apparently. I think Shuri would go back. I think she's just there.
She's gonna fight M'Baku.
Maybe she's not there to live. She wasn't packing heavy. She just had a backpack on.
Maybe she's gonna be Queen Regent and help bring up little T'Challa.
That could be something they bring about. Does it automatically pass by succession, or at every time there's a new ruler, is it available for challenge?
As being the resident expert in Wakandan history, let me break this down and Africa explain it to you because that's what I'm here to do.
Guys, this has been great. Jesse's actually been canceled just now.
I was ready to hear that too.
He's back. He can explain that. Go ahead, Jesse.
Oh.
Go ahead, please.
Please, Africa explain.
Enlighten me, dog.
Wakanda explain. The succession line.
Well,
he's typing in the private chat. Help!
Let's see the way my bank account's set up. Actually, so I don't even know if how you spell cancel.
Stealing a Kevin Hart joke. No, that's definitely not how you spell canceled.
That's definitely not how you spell canceled. There's 2 L's, I believe.
Well, what a great
there's
time.
There's an E there. There's a second. There's a first E and a second. But Jesse, I don't know how, or Sean, to answer your question, I don't know exactly how Wakanda does their whole who becomes ruler now system, because they introduced a lot of that tradition and culture in this movie. The whole burning of the robes post funeral, because if you're Wakanda, you're never really dead. Dead doesn't mean you're gone forever.
It's more of a stepping off point,
right? So they and again, a testament to how well done the tribute to Chadwick Boseman was. That felt real to me, and that felt like a very just cathartic thing, as the characters doing it, having Ramonda do it, and then later Shuri do it, but also us getting to see that it's the end of the mourning period, and not necessarily moving on, but moving forward with our loved ones in the ancestral plane. And it was just super well executed, and it made sense, and it gave us this wonderful moment of Shuri and Ramonda, and then Namor showed up and he was like, hey, yo, blow this shell when you get the scientist. All right,
I'll blow Namor's shell. I'm not afraid to say it.
I tried to avoid that, and I guess I couldn't, but
you're not avoiding anything.
Ramonda tried to tell Shuri in that moment too. She literally says, of course, as someone shows up and interrupts, she goes, "I need to tell you something about your brother." Oh snap! Who's this new guy on the shore?
Right,
who's this guy coming out of the water? So she was trying to tell it earlier in the film. So to finish up speculation though, is where do we feel like Wakandans in general will show up next? and as you think about that, last thing is, I thought maybe we would have seen an Avenger at T'Challa's funeral. Maybe Bucky, because he has the relationship with Ayo, but maybe they're on the outs because of the whole Zemo thing. Which also, where was Zemo? He was in a Wakanda prison this whole time. Did he break out during the flooding of the city? Maybe that'll be how he breaks out and joins the Thunderbolts. I don't know. I think they could do a flashback scene or something. Retcon it.
We for sure are getting some Wakandans in Ironheart. I swear that's actually been confirmed. I think
that could make sense. That's a good spot for them to be.
Because I think Ryan Coogler's like producing, or he's involved in Ironheart.
Okay. I pulled up these older images. I don't have the new ones, but is this okay? So this is where we're going next, right? Okay. The only thing that's changed is Blade. I think has been pushed because
next fall. Oh
yeah.
Oh my god.
So
they also could show up in New World Order, maybe, but I don't know.
That's quite a bit down the way.
So I think Ironheart's got to be the next.
Maybe Secret Invasion. We could see some Skrull Wakandans.
Oh snap! I think you're on to something with that one.
Yeah. And then this was the end of that. Oh, that was just another bad image. And then I think after that, what is it? The only thing we have on the docket afterwards would now is Deadpool, and then Fantastic Four, Kang, and
Secret Wars.
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
That's a good question where the Wakandans pop up next. Ironheart makes the most sense out of the bunch, but Secret Invasion, that'd be a lot of fun.
It's supposed to be a worldwide invasion and issue and problem.
Right. Plus, I mean, I was going to say Ross might pop up in that, but I guess not anymore. But I'm curious to see where Black Panther and what Black Panther's role is now in the grander MCU. Because it seemed like they teed him up to be the guy post Endgame, like he was gonna be the guy bankroll in the Avengers. But is that still the case now that Shuri took up the mantle, and that she may or may not be leading Wakanda as well? She may not even be in Wakanda at the moment.
Does she help the Young Avengers?
Yeah, she posted up with the Young Avengers.
She's young enough. I mean, she's
she's supposed to be like 18 or 19 or something in the first Black Panther. I think she dusted, so she's only a few years older than that now.
Right. I see just the reality of the situation. And I don't think it would have been this way necessarily if Chadwick was still around, but I see kind of Shang-Chi taking the role of what Black Panther would have been.
First,
I feel like when you're putting together a team though, and you're like, all right, we got Thor, we got a Cap, we got a this person, a that person, wherever Black Panther would have fit in, I think Shang-Chi is going to fit in that slot instead. Just kind of skill set wise, martial artists, they're both, they have powers ish, and mostly hand to hand combat type of fighting type of stuff. And good people essentially. So I kind of see that's where they fit in there.
I like where your head's at. I'm not gonna lie to you. We're Shang-Chi in that timeline, Marvel. I'm gonna need more of that as soon as possible.
There's supposed to be a 10-ring show coming, right?
Yeah.
Allegedly, supposedly.
And Destin's staying pretty busy with apparently he's gonna be doing Kang Dynasty and producing Wonder Man with Yahya Abdul and team.
Wonder Man as well.
Oh yes. I need more Shang-Chi, dog. I need him to pop up somewhere. I need Simu Liu back in another thing. It's been what,
post credit scene or something?
2 years.
Get it going.
Yeah. What'd you say?
I said throw him in a post credit scene or something. Let's at least see his face again soon.
Right.
It used to be post credit scenes were from other random shit that had nothing to do with the movie, just a little tease, little flavor of the rest of the universe. They just I don't think they've been doing that lately, but we haven't got a ton of movies lately, so maybe that makes sense.
Maybe he pops up in Ant-Man at the end of an end credit scene. Who knows?
Ant-Man's in San Francisco. He started in San Francisco.
Boom. Let's get weird.
Yeah.
Let's get weird. After Scott Lang bites the dust in that movie. We're going to need some guy to bring up the yucks, and I think Simu Liu is going to do a great job of that.
100%. All right. Well, what a great place to finish it out. It's been a full hour. You got to stick around with us.
I feel like we talked a lot.
Exactly. We only wanted to go for half an hour. If you stuck around this long, then you're hearing this. And please make sure you comment down below if you've already liked the video, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. But let us know what we left out maybe, and let us know what your favorite part of the movie was, because that's always good to hear. Everyone has their own flavor and their own experiences, what they grab onto, what they glom onto. Let us know what yours was, please do that below. For Chris, for Jesse, for myself, I'm Sean. Thank you for sticking around, and we'll see you around next time.
Wakanda forever. Pew, pew.